We sound like The Grudge, kind of.
Oh my goodness.
But we're not doing that today.
Yeah, and sorry, Spanish is really the only language I know, so I was just trying to speak something other than English, but hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for another episode of Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks. This is our first episode of 2025, so exciting, and we are your hosts, Emma.
I'm Allie.
We are two best friends that like to talk about horror movies and drink while we do it. So really hope that you enjoy the pod. You can also find us on social media at Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks on Instagram and on TikTok. Come follow us over there. And we also have a Patreon if you want to be a part of our Patreon community and help support the pod. Allie, you want to tell us what we are reviewing today? If y'all couldn't tell by the top of the pod with my voice acting.
Fairly certain I couldn't tell by that, but I love you. We are reviewing 2007's 30 Days of Night. And a little bit of a spoiler alert, we talk everything about the film, so if you don't want to be spoiled, go rent this on Prime or YouTube or whatever the fuck, and then come back to this episode. But if you don't give a shit, then come on this snowy-ass ride with us, fuckers. And Emma, what the fuck have you been up to?
Oh my goodness. Well, I have been deathly ill. I am just coming off of a very horrible flu, but yeah, starting the year, trying to get healthy. Anyways, how are you?
I'm good. I mean, I can't believe it's 2025. I rang in the New Year's by watching Shrek.
Amazing.
At my house. Yes, it was a good way to roll that
As
one
you
in.
should.
Yes. Love Shrek. But do you have any New Year's resolutions?
I actually have a few that kind of pertain to the pod, and some that are fun is I really want to challenge myself to watch one new horror film at least once a month. I would say more often, but I just want to be like realistic,
Totally.
and make sure it's a manageable goal.
Well,
But anyways, what about you?
Good for you. I will not be, that's not one of my resolutions,
That's okay.
but I'm proud of you, sweetie. Related to the pod, I want to go to more horror themed shit and like just like restaurants and horror theme, like any kind of haunted location or any conferences we haven't been to and are super dope. So hoping to get more out there in 2025. We had a blast last year, but let's expand on that.
I agree with that, and I'm adding that to my list too.
Well, fucking cheers to 2025 and a great year ahead.
Cheers. For today's synopsis, we have after an Alaskan town is plunged into darkness for a month, it is attacked by a bloodthirsty gang of vampires. And you know what? I think that gets right to it.
It's vague but accurate at the same time.
Yeah, very accurate. And this film has a 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb, which I'm going to say I think is a tiny bit high.
I totally agree. So the Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter is 50%. And the popcorn meter is 56, which I struggle with because I don't particularly like this movie, but I don't particularly hate it.
I kind of feel the same. I think we were just talking about it too when we were watching it, but like I used to love this film as like a teenager when it came out.
I have my hand raised because I know the reason why we loved it. Josh fucking Hartnett, yes.
This film was directed by David Slade.
I don't know who this person is, but he directed Twilight Eclipse, and I'm like, the fuck? Do you love vampires?
I think he's a vampy guy. It sounds like it.
Yeah, and allegedly, Sam Raimi was slated to direct this, and then he was like, nah, I'll just produce it instead.
Interesting.
Didn't seem like a Sam Raimi produced film.
Yeah, if you didn't tell me that, I would not have known he had his hand in the pot. For today's top-billed cast, starting things off with our heartthrob, Mr. Josh Hartnett, who plays Eben Olsen.
And what kind of, I mean, I've never heard the name Eben, but go for it. And if you didn't know, this movie was based off of a comic, and the hero's name in the comic was Eben Oliman, which was changed to Eben Olsen for the film because that was the real sheriff's name in the town they filmed it, or like it was based on.
Wait, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that little real tie.
If you don't know Josh Hartnett, I can't talk to you.
Yeah.
I was fucking obsessed. I had like Tiger Beat posters of him all over my walls, and he was in The Faculty, which we will cover hopefully this year.
Yeah, I think we have that on our docket sometime when like school starts up again. Get ready for that one.
And Halloween H2O, which I think that was his first actual film.
So cool.
And that's probably my second in the favorite in the franchise.
He's got an interesting repertoire. But so moving on, then we have Melissa George, who plays Stella Olsen, his kind of estranged wife.
And I was like, what the fuck do I know this bitch from? Dude, she's in Amityville Horror with Ryan Reynolds.
When you wrote that in the notes, I don't know why I didn't clock that earlier. I was like, oh shit, that's totally right. Yeah, she does great in that. And then we also have Danny Houston, who plays Marlowe, who is like our main vamp.
And all I can see him as is the Axeman from American Horror Story Coven, my favorite season of that little franchise. But he's actually a really great actor in this film.
Yeah. And then we also have Ben Foster, who plays the stranger.
I think he also did great in this film. And do you by chance remember that Disney show called Flash Forward?
No.
He was in it and he plays this cutie named Tucker. And I'm like, what the fuck, Disney Plus? Where's that at?
Wait, that's a deep cut.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
It's ingrained in my brain. And we also have Mark Boone Jr., who plays Bo, and I love him as Bobby in Sons of Anarchy.
Yes. Oh my God. Same. Just little sweetie pie.
Immaculate. And he's like my favorite character in this film.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I see a lot of ties between you and him.
Oh,
in the best way.
Okay. Sure.
I think you would drive your giant plow through a building to try to save everybody.
I'd be the first one dead. But I digress.
Some fun facts that I have is that the vampires speak in a completely original language in this film. So it was created specifically for the movie with the help of a linguistics professor at New Zealand University, which you can kind of tell when these vampires are talking that it's not just like random gibberish. It is like its own language, which is really
totally
cool. Speaking of New Zealand, this was shot in New Zealand, and nearly half of the cast is Kiwi or Australian, which I thought was kind of cool. And a lot of the night shots were shot during the day, surprise, surprise, using what they call like a day for night process, which I thought was kind of interesting.
So the town of Barrow, where they're supposed to be set in, is a real place, but they've actually renamed it in the since 2007, I guess, to, I'm going to butcher this, Okiawunk. And it's a real place, and it's at the very northern part of Alaska. And they actually don't see the sun for roughly 76 days, not 30 days. But I get it. 30 days of night sounds better than 67 days of night.
That's true.
And just for reference, that town experienced its final sunset in 2024 on November 18th. And they won't see the sun rise again until January 22nd of this year.
Woof.
And I'm like, okay, that's a pitch black holiday season, and I can't tell if that would depress me or make me happy because of Christmas lights, but I don't know.
Okay, so I have one last fun fact before we get into the film. So these vampires make these crazy noises. I was like trying to do it obviously at the beginning of the movie, but I don't think I succeeded. But they're like, I think that was actually pretty good.
I'm not sure.
But the sounds of the vampires were created through a mix of screams of the actors and recordings of local death metal singers and various marsupials.
Marsupials?
Marsupials.
Marsupials.
Marsupials. And the signature roar of the vampires was achieved when the actors screamed while inhaling. So it sounds like they did some pretty cool experimentation to really make the sounds of the vampires. And it's really working for me in this entire film.
Made of like possums and koalas. Sick.
Yep.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Where's that on Rosetta Stone?
I know. All right, Alice, let's get into this. You ready for total darkness?
I am total and utter darkness. So yes.
Perfect. Well, we start this film by being introduced to the town of Barrow, Alaska. And this town is introduced as being super remote. It's like a very icy wilderness, very, very snowy. And it's known for experiencing 30 days of complete darkness every winter. And a quick fun fact that I have on this is that all of the snow used in this film was not actual snow, and most of it was salt and some kind of snow that was edited in to like make it look real. Which
that's fucking insane
I know.
because there's a lot of, it's all snow.
It's all snow. I know. I thought the same thing. I'm like, at this point, is it just easier to go shoot somewhere that's snowy?
Literally.
Maybe not.
But yeah.
I don't know. But just had to throw that one in there.
We see our first, I guess, character
Yeah.
who is the stranger, aka Ben Foster, who we talked about, and he's staring at a scary frozen ship that's sitting in the middle of the ocean off the coast of Barrow, and he's like in a bear costume. Like he looks like he's in a bear costume. But I kind of want it.
Is it a bear costume?
No, it's a fucking coat.
Oh, okay. But it looks like he's a little bear.
But it's actually a really cool shot because you can tell by the way he looks, he's fucked up in the head already. And the stark contrast of like his weird face with his piercing blue eyes and the white snow is okay.
Yeah, it's a cool contrast. Yeah.
Well, and it's like, okay, shit's about to happen. Mm-hmm. Also, quick question for you. Do you think that, having seen the movie, do you think the vampires are on that ship and that's how they get transported to Barrow?
Okay, yes, I do think so. I thought it was literally just like an abandoned ship where they lived, but you saying that it might be like where they transport from like town to town actually makes kind of a lot of sense. So I'm going to say yeah to all of it.
Like it's the ghost ship of vampires.
Yeah, Vost ship.
So we see Sheriff Eben and his colleague Billy, but I like to call him White-Ass Teeth Man. Did you notice how fucking white his teeth were?
Yes, they are bright.
And especially for 2007, I'm not sure if Crest White strips are out yet, but like, damn. So they are out in the snow banks like above the town, and they discover a pile of burnt-ass cell phones or satellite phones. It's super suspicious, but both of them are like, maybe it was like teenagers or, you know, it's just like not.
They're not like thinking it's like an emergency just yet. They're more just like confused.
But as the viewers and people who have seen this movie, we're like, that was fucking
sign number one.
Sign number one, and making the town a lot easier to disassociate with the rest of the world. And as a cop, I'd be like, okay, well, this is so weird. Like this happens right on the day of the last sun of the year.
Yeah, so creepy.
So creepy. We're also introduced to Stella, who's a really sexy fire marshal in Alaska. And apparently she might be still married to Ebb. And they are planning on getting separated. And we gotta love some drama and horror films. Pull at our heartstrings if you have any. I don't, but maybe you do.
And this is some small town drama.
Yeah.
Like even the guy that she's chatting with at the place that she's getting some of her gear inspected, she's like, oh yeah, I'm trying to get out of town by the end of the day so that I can catch the last flight and I've got some shit to do. And he's like, okay, what the fuck's going on with you and Eben? And you could just tell that it's like the town gossip of like why they're not together.
It's like, what in the Alaskan Hallmark movie is this?
This is where the movie could have taken a turn and been a really lovely romance.
It could have, and it could have been just like, oh, our Christmas tree farm is down and you can't catch your flight, so help me.
So help me, and we're going to stay together in this really sexy fire-lit living room under the same blanket.
However, this is not how this movie goes.
I was going to say, before we get too far.
We could have gone forever.
I know, we could have.
I think it's so interesting as the residents prepare for this 30 days of night or whatever, and like so many people are bouncing the fuck out, and it's all the wives and children, and I'm like, are we on the Titanic?
Literally, it feels weird because a lot of the wives and children are like kissing their husbands goodbye that are staying, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of scary.
But wouldn't you want to stay with your spouse or like have your spouse bounce out with you?
These are all great questions. Yeah, like what is the pro and con of just staying? Maybe they just don't have enough resources to like really fully operate a town if everybody chose to stay, but that would seem weird too.
I think the pro for all of the workers or anybody who stays is like a paycheck.
True. Yeah, maybe they treat it as like, okay, this is our 30 days where our town is like basically shut down, so you can either leave and we're not paying you, or you can stay and work a little bit.
For a month, which doesn't seem like a lot right now.
It's true.
And homegirl Stella is like, yo, I gotta catch my flight. So she bounces out in her Chevy, which I'm pretty sure could not handle that amount of snow, but I will not think too much about that.
It.
Stella almost gets final destinationed by a massive trenching vehicle. And how did she survive that? I'm not sure. If you've seen the scene, I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it T-bones her with like its scary like saw thing at the end.
We don't actually know what a trenching thing. My dad told me that's what it was.
I was going to say, I was really impressed that that's what you called it, honestly, because I said, I think if I quote my notes, I said, a heavy piece of machinery. I was like, I don't know what to call it.
Thank you, Dave Lopez, for telling me what that was, but I can't explain it. Anyways, she's not dead, so that's good. But now she's kind of halted from getting to the airport where she can't flee the darkness and flee Eben.
Ooh.
She also hadn't told Eben that she was in town.
No.
But she does call him and is like, yo, I'm here. I need to ride to the airport so I can bounce. And Eben is like, bitch, White Teeth Billy will take you later, girl.
I know. I actually love that he's like, I'm not going to go to your command just because you said it. Right before that happens too, and like before Billy goes to get Stella and try to take her to the airport, we are introduced to Beau, who is one of the town residents, and he is a really cool guy. He is a little bit of a misfit. Billy and Eben are citing his big, massive snowplow for some reason. They're like giving him a ticket for something. And Billy's like, Eben, dude, why do we even bother with this guy? Like, what's his deal? And he's like, he wants to be part of the town. He wants to feel like he's part of the town. He truly does. It almost seemed like he didn't really mind getting tickets and stuff because it like makes him feel maybe like a little bit more included in the community or something. But we're introed to him, and Beau has that badass plow, which is going to come into play a little bit later in the film. So,
and that badass beard.
Very badass beard.
So Eben gets a call to go out to John and Allie's property, farm, whatever.
And Eben shows up, and it is so sad because literally every single one of John and Allie's huskies in every single kennel has been
yeeted. We hate to see any animal be killed in a movie.
I'm literally biting my nail right now because I'm like so nervous. I just don't like it.
But beyond that, this is another problem for the town because that eliminates a mode of transportation. What is it? A snow dog?
Yeah, they're like
sled dogs.
And you say mush.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so we got it. We got there eventually. Balto.
Oh, wow. But yeah, that's sad and problematic for the town. And Eb says, don't worry, I'll find them, whoever did this. And I'm like, this is first of many times where he's like, don't worry, I'll find them, I'll figure it out. And I'm like, bro, do you ever actually?
He never. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler. He doesn't.
Back at the station, we meet Jake, Eben's little brother, who apparently works there, and his grandma Helen, who also works there. We
love a family affair. And Jake looks 15. So what the fuck is he working at a police station for?
See, I think he looks 25, but...
Oh, weird. I need to talk to you more about this.
The producer and I were like, we were talking about how old he looks, but I'm like, it's the winter time. Just give him a break. But yeah, he is a kid working in this like station, but it's a small town. I mean, honestly, I think like working at 15 in a small town, probably not too crazy.
Okay. Totally. Eben is like, dudes, weird shit is happening. Call neighboring towns and see if weird shit is happening there too, which good call, but maybe we'd be a little bit more proactive. Call in special forces,
kind of like maybe alert some other people, like, hey, if you don't hear from me in like a day or something, like there's some weird shit going on. I don't know. Maybe he just isn't full alarm bells yet because probably nothing exciting happens in their little town. So it's probably like, what the fuck could be happening?
I also just, in my brain, I was like, turn Find My Friends on for everybody because weird
for everybody.
But then if you're dead and your phone's still on, does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't
It doesn't tell you whether someone's alive or dead, unfortunately.
Let's talk to Apple and make that a function. Okay. Eben then goes to the utilidor, which I'd never heard of before, but it is an insulated conduit that runs above ground and is used for general utility services, especially in places that permafrost.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love that you looked up what that was because I also think that I called it like a storage place that has radios.
I called it like a trash compactor, and then
that's what I thought it was at first. I was like, what? Like, because it has trash capabilities and all kinds of stuff. But anyways.
But the good news is it can do all of those things because it's a utilidor, which makes it potentially a safe place to find haven later on.
That's very true. Very true.
The staff at the utilidor is like pissed off because their shit's been fucked with, and we're introduced to the quote-unquote monster, which is some kind of trash compactor gear thing that just like crushes all of your metals or bones or meats or like all your trash. And what it looks like is how Munder dies in Ghost Ship under the water.
Yes,
with
like all the gears coming together. Totally.
Yeah. But so now we basically know that this is definitely going to come into play.
I don't know if you caught it, but what one of the guys there is so mad about is that someone put his helicopter,
His plane.
They chopped his like helicopter, and he's like found all the parts, and they've found a lot of the parts in this like compactor, which is another thing and a means of transportation that now they don't have out of the town. So like spooky.
Red flag number 17.
Yeah. And then meanwhile, too, Billy is still trying to get Stella to the airport. And what do you know? She doesn't make it in time. And I wrote down this quote because she looks so pissed. She like pulls up to the airport with Billy. They're closing up. They have no more flights. And she's like, I am not trapped here for a month. And I'm like, bitch, you are. I'm so sorry. And then Billy's like, well, you can stay with me and Peggy and the girls, but you're going to have to tell me what the heck is wrong with you and Eben. So another instance of someone in the town being like all up to date on the hot gossip, and they're just trying to understand what's going on with them too.
I feel like people should mind their own fucking business, but I also love community.
Yeah. I know like the next thing that we see is we're gonna see this like really sweet kind of older man who's at their like, I call it like a communication station.
Let's
but
call
is
it
it the
that.
same thing as the Utilidor, or is it different?
No, it's different. I think what I put it down is like the Utilidor is like power based and the communication station is communication based.
Like it's all the radio stuff, all the satellites, all
radio,
that stuff.
satellite, like outward communication, and Utilidor is just like generators.
Oh, energy.
Energy.
Okay,
yeah.
got it. Okay, I was like, are these two different places? Because they look so similar, honestly, especially on the inside and outside.
Yeah.
But okay, I'm glad that we cleared that one up. And so, yeah, we get introduced to another little character because he's all by himself at this communication station. And he gets
this is our first kind of sighting of random ass vampires in suits. I just think they're all wearing like suits.
They're all fancy.
They're all dressed for church. That stuck with me heavily.
Bloody Sunday.
There you go. We see our man who works there who looks sweet and also like Santa.
He does have Santa qualities.
He does.
Yeah.
And he gets just fucking yeeted out in the snow when he's going to investigate like the sounds outside.
Yeah, it's very sad. And you're like, oh shit, because that's kind of like the first official kill that we see.
Besides the dogs, yeah.
I do like how we get intro to the vamps really quickly because I feel like so many other movies like take their fucking sweet time to even like show us what the vampires look like or anything, where I feel like this film does a good job getting right to it.
Twilight.
Okay, yes. They're not killing people.
Okay. But anywho, all the town communication is now cut off. Red flag again.
87. Yeah. At the diner, we see this creepy, scraggly man. We're back with the stranger who was the first guy that we saw at the very top of the film that Ali said was in a bear suit or a bear costume.
Okay. I don't know why it reminded me of that. Okay.
No, I love it. And he is like really unnerving the patrons that are there. And he's making these weird, like cryptic remarks about like death and darkness and just being weird. And he's just a weird dude.
But he does it so well.
He does it so well. Yeah. The guy that plays this character, Ben Foster, did an amazing job acting.
And so he's sitting. Also good for him for just like finding a town diner. Like, what'd you do? Yelp it? Good for you.
Yeah.
And he goes to sit at the diner counter and he's like, I'd like some raw hamburger meat. And he also asks about alcohol beverages to the waitress. And she says it's illegal this month because darkness drives people crazy enough. And I was like, word.
You're like, I would be fucked.
I would personally be fucked, but like understood.
And he actually utters one of the most, I don't know if it's iconic for anyone else, but this is a line that I used to say repeatedly. And I feel like when he asks for the meat and the alcohol and he gets turned down because they also don't have meat apparently available either, he's all, you don't bring me what I want to eat, what I want to drink. And literally the way he says it is so creepy. And all of my friends, we always go, bring me what I want to eat, what I want to drink.
Okay, so I'm staring at Emma, kind of scared.
Yeah, spooky, right?
I also love that line, and we will be using that from now on.
Yes.
And you did the voice very well.
Did I do it good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awesome.
Applause to
Thank you. Thank you. And I have a fun fact about this character too, as well, real quick. So one theory holds that this character is a nod to the character R.M. Renfield in the novel Dracula by Bram Stoker from 1897. And parallels include both of them being approached by vampires, both of them having a hunger for like blood and just weird stuff like the raw meat, for instance. And then both of them like kind of being like rewarded for their assistance to like the vampires. So just a lot of this is sort of reminiscent to that. And an extra fun fact inside of this fun fact is that psychologists today refer to patients who have a vampiric hunger for blood as suffering from Renfield syndrome.
Cute.
Fun little fact there.
Yeah, he's like, he definitely shows signs of being a familiar to a vampire or the entire pack of vampires. And it's definitely evident. Anyways, Eben happens to be at the same diner, and Stella is too. And I'm like, how the fuck are they everywhere all the time, all at once? Both of them.
They might have been called, and we just didn't see that part in the film.
Well, that's on them.
Yeah. And then Sheriff Eben arrests him. He's making some threats and just like kind of causing a little bit of a scene in this diner. And he starts to spout like warnings about like them coming and all of this stuff. So Eben and Stella work together to bring him back to the station. And in the jail, this stranger, he's like taunting Eben and his team, which is Grandma and Jake, his brother. And he's like refusing to reveal kind of like who he is and what his role is in all of like the weird, strange shit that's happening.
And I love this character of the stranger. I am not sure why, but he's intimidating everybody. He's in the jail cell and he's like, okay, fuckers, you don't know what's coming for ya. I don't have that good voice that you do. Okay, you don't know what's coming for you.
You don't know what's coming for you.
And in the midst of all like this actual stranger coming into their town and power being out, communication being out, phones being burned, weird shit happening, dogs dying. Why is this not all adding up to something that you should be way more concerned about?
I know, and like, no offense, but you think it's all just this one guy? It's like, there's no way.
And in the midst of all of this, Eben goes to check on the communication station where he finds Gus's head on a pole outside in the snow.
Very sad.
And I feel like Eben acts kind of casually here after he sees what he saw. And then he goes back into town. He's like, you know what, guys? Go into your houses, lock your shit up, stay inside, do whatever. But like, what the fuck? Maybe you should be more concerned.
Yeah, very, very scary. Also, simultaneously, while this is happening, we see 3 workers that are like getting off shift, doing their thing.
Do you want to know what I call these people?
What?
A throuple.
That could not be more accurate. You can tell that they're all friends, but it's 2 guys and a girl, and they're like kind of like flirting with her a little bit and like, ooh, which one are you going to come home with tonight? You know, and they're like making jokes.
No, for real. It's Gabe, Aaron, and Denise.
Oh.
And I don't know what kind of thing they work at, but they literally are like, just like, who's going to get it tonight? And go Denise, by the way.
I know. I'm like, you go, girl. Well, and then, unfortunately, one of them gets grabbed and yeeted, and the 2 of them are just like, what the fuck just happened? But that's all we see for a little bit.
And as we get into more of the nightfall and all of this random shit, we're at John and Allie's house, the dog owners that got
their pack died.
We Allie's in the kitchen. She's like, John, let's eat. John's all depressed because the dogs passed away, which I get it.
Oh, 100%.
I get it. But
she's just trying to keep some sense of normalcy.
Totally. And then out of fucking nowhere, Allie gets yeeted by this Okay, so I'm pretty sure these vampires are on coke and can parkour. because this vampire just flies through the window of their kitchen and fucks her shit up.
Yep.
Or starts to.
Yep. And then he takes her. He's like, you're coming with me, my girl.
So R.I.P. Allie. And we don't really know what happens to John at this point, but we'll find out later.
He does try to save her, but unfortunately he is unsuccessful. And he gets attacked, which is a little bit scary.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, do we see him get attacked?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that explains a lot more than I. Look, I watched this at night. It was dark. I couldn't see much.
Yeah, Allie gets dragged underneath a house and he tries to go after her. He gets attacked and loses her and then ends up kind of just hanging out underneath the house. And that's like the last that we see of him for a little while. And then back at the station, the stranger is still spitting some nonsense. He is fully annoying Jake, Helen, and Stella, who are playing cards and kind of just like watching him.
Well, and he's fully taunting Jake, and Eb is like, fuck this shit. And
Eben comes in.
Yeah. And the stranger actually gets a hold of Jake at some point, and Eben shoots him in a non-death-worthy place.
Yeah, he just shoots him right in the shoulder, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he handcuffs him to this cell door.
Eben and Stella try to go investigate outside. They're like, okay, some shit's going down here. This guy's fucking crazy. We just shot him. We need to figure out what's happening. And so they go outside and they get in their truck. They're driving around, and Stella sees one of the vampires and get attacked by that vampire. So now they know, like, okay, some shit is fucking going down.
But they haven't deduced that it's vampires yet.
No.
I'm like, come on, wake up, people.
They're just like, who are these strange fucking people that are doing weird shit? And once the vampire that attacked them somehow just leaves them alone, they are still driving through town and they see a car turned over and on fire. And things are just like weirdly in disarray. And then in Eben's radio, they hear a gunshot come through and they hear Grandma Helen crying. So they're like, shit, we need to get back as soon as possible. Like, some crazy shit is going down at the station.
But back at the station, there's fucking blood. And as a viewer, we know it's Grandma Helen's, who we just heard on the radio. R.I.P. Grandma Helen, you seemed like a good one.
But we don't see her actual body or anything.
No, just blood.
Yeah.
And we also don't see her head.
Ooh,
yeah,
spooky.
So maybe she's a vampire now. But we go to the stranger, Ben Foster, who's still handcuffed to the cell door. And he's like, yo, those fuckers didn't fucking take me with them. And I'm pissed and depressed. And we can indicate that he's the familiar of this vampire clan. And he's sad that he hasn't been taken to be changed or join them and all that jazz.
But speaking of being taken, Jake is nowhere to be found. So
True.
As a viewer, I feel like they make it seem like Jake was taken by the vampires.
And the stranger asks Eben to finish him off because he's sad that the vamps didn't fucking want him. And Eben is seriously thinking about it. And then Stella is like, bro, no, we can't do that. And props to Josh Hartnett in this scene because I don't know, he's really good at acting with his eyes because
yes, totally.
You can actually see where he's like,
he has that internal like
he's thinking about it and then he suddenly snaps out of it when Stella says don't. So good for him.
Yeah. Outside, a group of vampires led by Marlowe, played by Danny Houston, descends on the town in a very feral and animalistic frenzy. And this is kind of the first time in the film where we really see the vampires as a group making their like animalistic noises and all their like weird screeching and screaming and speaking their little vampire language. And Marlowe explains to the crew that when they attack, they must separate the heads from the bodies to make sure that they don't make any new vamps. So he's kind of like training his little army of vampires of like how to attack everybody successfully, which is almost scarier to me because it seems like they're literally just trying to kill people and like suck their blood. Like there's no, oh, we're trying to get like more vamps in the family. Like there's like none of that going on.
And I have some commentary on that, but I'll save it for the end. But I think that's kind of what separates this from a lot of vampire films.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, this is my morbid self. I'm into it. They're now free to wander the town, by, like all willy nilly, and they're getting all comfy and cozy in their new home for 30 days. And I'm like, you guys, make yourselves at home. This is your time to not shine, but be dark. And something about Marlowe, he seems to not be able to shut his mouth just like Krampus can't.
That is so true. Oh my gosh. He probably has terrible breath. This scene is so crazy too, because this is also where we see what I'm going to call the first like massacre of the town, because these vampires just run rampant. I mean, they go to all of the townspeople that are like taking refuge in their homes, and just anyone out kind of like walking on the street or that isn't inside, like taking some sort of cover, and they're just killing people left and right. I mean, residents are being kind of dragged out from their homes and slaughtered in the streets, and the vampires are just reveling in this carnage. And I love this scene too, because this entire massacre attack has this really chilling but amazing overhead shot showing like all of the massacre and mess that's happening. And this just like emphasizes to me the town's isolation and just the group of vampires in general taking dominance over everybody.
It was really cool. I'm also like, vampires, maybe save your appetites. You have 30 days, BBs.
Oh my gosh, yeah, totally. Like
you don't have
to ration.
No, not ration, but like save some for later.
Yeah.
You know?
Like you don't even know.
Don't spoil that Thanksgiving dinner.
I love that.
One of the things I loved about this massacre scene is they're in a townspeople couple, like they're a Mr. and Mrs., and they're being attacked by basically Marlowe, and I call her his wife. Her name's
she's
Iris.
his lady,
yeah. I think her actual name is Iris, but they're attacking this couple, and Marlowe's like, fuck yeah, this is chill. What a dinner party. And he starts playing a record with his coke nail. They have like long talons, and he just starts playing it.
I love that. They know how to party.
Resourceful. Also reminds me of his role as the Axeman in American Horror.
Ooh.
Yeah, because he loved jazz. He loved music.
Just a jazzy guy.
He's just a jazzy guy. Jazzy vamp.
While these vampires are like totally doing their crazy massacre dance party, Sheriff Eben and his estranged wife Stella, with a small group of townspeople, they are reuniting in the diner to sort of seek solace and to kind of figure out what they're going to do next. And luckily, Eben reunites with Jake there, and so he feels really good about that. But they all discuss how they need to hide and they need to figure out what their next move is. They decide to hide in a local man's attic because the way that his attic is in his home, I guess it's very discreet and not easy to see that there is an attic, and it's kind of like the perfect place for them to hide and so that they can figure out what their next move is. Eben and Stella during this time are like, okay, we're going to come meet you guys up in the attic, but first, like, we're going to go off together and try to get as much ammo and traps as they can.
And I'm like, okay, for an estranged couple, they work pretty well together. And they seem to want to be together a lot.
Hey, they're just gravitating back to those old toxic habits. You know what I mean?
Just like the universe pulls you back together, so do vampires. They get into a car, and a group of these coked up vampires just fully come and flip it. It's no big thing. It's like a mother with a baby under the car or whatever that is, just like it's Edward with saving Bella.
Oh my gosh, just super vampire strength.
Yeah. And I think this is actually the first time that Eben and Marlowe encounter each other. And am I toxic for thinking that like in another circumstance they would be friends?
I don't know about that, but I do agree that it seems to be this is like Eben really seeing them for what they are for the first time. Like, you can't look at Marlowe and not think that he's a vampire. So you kind of see it, I feel like, in Eben's eyes a little bit. Like, he's like, I think he still doesn't want to accept that it is a vampire, but he's like, what the fuck am I looking at?
I was more so thinking like we could be friends, because they're both like the leaders. Yeah,
okay. Yeah, I could see that maybe. I really like where your head's at.
I see a little bit of both of them in each other.
Yeah.
So this could have been a friendship, but I digress.
Well, and I love this part because Beau comes through
Yes.
and fucks shit up and rescues them with his massive snowplow. Like, what a gentleman.
And he's so calm. And I'm like, I strive to have the zero amount of fucks that he has.
He really did have zero amount of fucks.
Something I will say about these vampires and basically ever seen is I love how they don't wipe their chins with anything, but they're just covered in blood.
Yep.
They're just their chins.
They don't care. Well,
And that's basically like me eating anything.
do we think that they just don't wipe their faces because they technically can't even see themselves in a mirror?
Wouldn't they be able to feel it?
Yes, I guess.
Or they don't give a single fuck.
Probably just don't give a single fuck. That's probably what it is.
I
But
thought you were going somewhere way different. And listeners, if you know where my brain went.
Wait. Oh no, Allison.
Moving on.
Anyways.
So, but Stella and Beau finally make it to the attic where all the other survivors are hanging out. And during all of this, young Jake is finally like, yo, bitches, these are vampires. I'm like, listen to young Jake. Because they're all like, no, vampires don't exist. Bitches, they do.
He knows what's up. Jake
And
knows what's up.
Jake believes in vampires. No, Jake believes in vampires. And he probably also believes in the magic of Christmas.
Oh my God.
And he's just waiting for that train to come along. Polar Express, that's his way out, baby.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Can I say a really fun fact I have?
Mm-hmm.
You're like, where are you going with this? Well, so in this attic that they're all hiding out, there is a picture of Steve Niles, who wrote the original comic book, hanging in the attic hideout, which that is an Easter egg. So spot that in the movie if you guys are watching it at home. And Eben is telling everybody, like, I think this is his second instance of trying to take control. And I've got a plan and we're going to do this. And he's like, we're going to sleep in shifts and we'll ration food and then we'll figure something out. He literally says, we'll figure something out. So he doesn't even have a plan.
No. And my question is, so they're all in the attic. Where do people get a shit?
Alice, I literally thought the same thing because they end up being in this attic for days. I'm like, this could be a real different movie if they wanted to be real super realistic with it. Like, where are people shitting and pissing?
Yeah.
Just where? And like, unless there's any kind of window or anything in there, like you might be able to pee out of the window, but they don't want to get caught.
The vampires would either smell that or hear it or see it or like drink it. I don't know.
Maybe they have buckets.
That's nice. It's going to smell at one point.
Yeah. Spooky.
But long story long, they don't explain that.
So back with the vamps, they are now visiting Mr. Stranger in the jail.
This scene makes me like so sad.
It's very sad.
And Marlowe is talking to the stranger and he's like, in his little clickety-clackety language, thank you for everything you did. You did everything we asked you to do, boo, and we will take care of you. And the stranger is like, fuck yeah, my guys are finally going to turn me. I'm going to be part of the fam. And they end up fucking killing him. Not even like taking his blood or anything. Just, I think they, broke his neck and now he dead?
Yeah, it was very, very weird. And it's like, just why can't you add him to the army? Like, I know it's another mouth to feed, but he literally did everything that you possibly asked. Like, I don't understand. And it made me hate Marlowe a little bit.
I actually love Marlowe for so many very toxic reasons. But this did make me sad for the stranger. And I'm like, daggers, all he wanted to do was become part of the coked up vamp fam.
He just wanted a nice coke nail.
He wanted to do parkour with everyone and eat some neck.
And wear his bear costume.
And okay. And I was actually kind of surprised because this is kind of early in the film. And I thought the stranger would have lasted longer, especially since he's in all the previews for most of it. So R.I.P. the stranger.
Poor guy.
Poor guy.
Back at the attic, everyone is still struggling. They've got their fear. People are hungry. It's pretty cold. I mean, it's a whole like thing, and everyone's just trying to survive, right? And they hear the vampires prowling outside, and occasionally they hear the vampire coming, or one vampire at least, coming into the building that they're at to kind of like ransack, and they're trying to be really, really quiet, but I think it's just like kind of freaking everybody out. And they're arguing a little bit about what to do next. And Eben is like, we really should go and get supplies and then go to the utilidor because we'll be able to last the rest of this time there, or so they think.
And while they're all discussing this, they're being super fucking loud. They probably shouldn't.
Yes.
And maybe keep it down if you want to not get fucking yeeted. And this is still super early into their 30 days of night.
It's like day 7, right?
Yeah. So on day 7, we get a new fun problem. And we see a woman yelling for help walking down the snowy road in Barrow where all the houses are and whatnot. And she obviously is bait. It's clear. And also, these vamps being manipulative as hell, and they're trying to get people to do whatever they want. And we love a toxic relationship. So I'm here for it. And I was like, so to get somebody to do what you want, you have to speak a language that they understand. Like, how can these humans understand this clickety-clack?
I think Marlo probably knows English enough to kind of tell someone like what to do. Or he has mind powers that we don't know of.
These are all valid. I have several of these, and I'm now calling them David notes, my older brother David. And he has read the comic that this is based on.
Oh, he has? Hell yeah, David.
And in the comic, they could speak English as well.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense then.
Yes. So let's just go with,
she could understand.
She could understand. Eben knows the vamps are doing this bait game, and the survivors are not buying it. So now all the vamps are circling her in the street, just like, bitch, you did not do what we needed you to do.
It looks like a sad,
rumble
gang fight.
Yeah.
It's really sad. They're slapping the shit out of her and scratching her.
And she's got no fight in this game. She's in all pink. They're on all black. And we know who's going to win this one.
It's very, very sad.
And it is sad, but as the survivors are watching this, Eben's like, while they're beating the shit out of her, I'm going to take this opportunity and try and go run some errands, doing whatever the fuck he is doing.
Yeah, he makes a full break for it. And as he's trying to make his way to the supply store, he sees John from previously, John and Allie, the Husky family. He finds John hiding under a house, and he sees him and kind of panics and is like, oh shit, John. He's like, stay where you are. I will come to you. Don't worry. And finds that John's been fully turned into a vamp. And this just shows they forgot to take John's head off because they bit him in some way at some point in the attack previously. And he's like, Eben, I'm so hungry. And Eben sees that he's like, shit, well, I've got to kill him.
Yeah. And meanwhile, I keep bringing this up, but I think it's not brought up enough. Lots of sound being made during a bunch of these scenes.
Totally. Totally.
In the streets, John and Eben are making a lot of sound. And how are the vampires not hearing this? Or are they just busy gang killing this woman in the street? Anyways.
Yeah, likely.
As Eben meets Vampire John, he eats Vampire John. And I'm like, meets and eats. That's cute.
Meets and yeets.
Meets and yeets.
It's probably so sad, too, because you're doing it to your friend.
I think he's already killed a number of his friends,
yeah,
and it's not going to stop here.
It's very true. Well, he chops his head straight off with that axe. I'm like, woof.
Good for him.
That seems to be a theme in this film, is chopping the head off.
I think that's, because if you shoot them, nothing happens.
That's
true. If you
true.
shoot their chest or something,
You're
nothing
right.
happens.
Yeah. And Eben does make it back, but he cannot breathe for shit because he lost his inhaler. And he tells everyone, he's like, John Reese became one of them.
And I'm not sure why an inhaler was necessary in this movie, but I guess any plot point is a good one when it's a short comic. And while he's trying to inhale in the attic, Mr. and Mrs. Vamp, aka Marlo and Iris, discover John dead vampire, and they're like, okay, so there are some snacks left in this town because clearly a human has decapitated a vampire.
I didn't even clock that, but that's such a good point. I think that they totally saw that and were like,
no, they walked up to the body and pulled the lips back to see what kind of teeth.
So they know.
So they're like, more snacks somewhere. Now we just got to find a snack.
So taking advantage of this snowstorm that is about to happen, Eben leads the survivors to the general store, like they had talked about doing, and they're hoping to get some supplies before they make it to the utilidor. And while they're all in the store, they're trying to get as much supplies as they possibly can, like food, medical, ammo, kind of all that stuff.
And one of the survivors is purely like, I just need fucking Oreos. My wife never let me have these. And I'm like, I respect that.
I know. And
I respect you trying to get what you want, especially knowing maybe these are your final days.
Exactly.
And I would be searching for the White Claw and cheese.
Yeah.
What would you be getting?
Ooh. Okay. I would be searching for the Hot Cheetos straws.
I knew it.
And I know this might be controversial, but I do love a cup of noodle every once in a while.
There's no power in the town.
Fuck.
So good luck.
Cool. And while they're all in this general store, they run into a little vampire girl feasting on a townsperson. It's just so wild, this whole scene. She's like, I'm done playing with this one. Do you want to play with me now? And she has this bloody mouth with her vampire teeth, and she looks like a creepy little Chucky doll almost. Like,
and I'm like,
scary girl.
What the? Okay, also, first of all, who is she saying, do you want to play with me now, to?
All of them.
Oh, sure. And I'm like, that's what's up, bitch. You take control of this situation.
Yeah.
And little Jake actually ends up yeeting her. And I'm not sure that he was emotionally tough enough for that at this point.
Well, and before he kills her, she's like attacking multiples of them. Like it takes like a few of them to get her kind of under control. But then I think, isn't it like Stella and Eben kind of pin her up on the wall? And then that's when Jake gets her with the
jumps
axe.
in, yeah. And
so funny.
Something kind of weird is that nobody recognizes who this little girl is. And at first I was like, maybe she came with the pack of vampires, but she's speaking English. Which she's not using clickety-clack, so she must have been from the town. And everybody's like, we don't know who this is. Isn't that strange?
No, I clocked that as being so random. Like, it's fine if you want to have a little vampire girl, but like have her be connected to the town or the story in some way. She does seem totally random.
It was vague, but it made some kind of plot point. Yeah.
I don't know if we ever even find out who she is.
We don't. Or the purpose of this scene.
Well, we got it.
We got it, yes.
And still in the store, they realize that the whiteout or the snowstorm is over and they need to move really quickly.
And this is day 18 of 30 Days of Night. So they're like, we have to move before they see where we're at now.
Yeah, because we got to be able to last in this like spot.
And the gang starts to talk about, okay, how can we actually make the sun come early? They're vampires. And I'm like, okay, hocus pocus, make the sun come early. I know they're witches, but it's still like a little plan.
Stella starts talking about maybe bringing the sunlight early using Grandma Helen's sun lamp or like ultraviolet light that she used, which I love. She used it to grow weed to help her cancer symptoms, which like so sad and sweet. R.I.P. Grandma Helen.
Also baller.
Yeah, amazing. Love that. And I actually love this line that Bo says. He's like, just because something stopped Bela Lugosi doesn't mean it'll stop these things. I'm like, we love a tie back to a classic.
Bo fucking knows what's up. So they kind of all agree Eben is going to be the diversion and go to Grandma Helen's house to light up that weed UV lamp. And while everybody else goes to safety at the police station, I suppose. I don't know why they're going there, but sure. And so Eben's running through the streets of town, just like, what up, bitches? I'm here, blah, blah, blah. It reminds me of how Jimmy Stewart runs through the streets at the end of It's a Wonderful Life.
That's a good tie. I like
that. My brain is weird.
Well, and the vamps obviously see him and they're like, okay, but they're not totally buying
No,
it.
They're not buying his little act at all. And something to note that I'm obsessed with is Mr. Vamp and Mrs. Vamp, Marlo and Iris, how they speak to each other. Like, that's kind of how my husband and I speak to each other. It's so loving.
That's how I talk to the producer.
Yeah, it is a language.
A love language.
Yes. And while Eben's doing that, the survivors travel in a pack. And I would say maybe in this instance, don't travel in a pack, but maybe it's the mentality of you don't have to outrun the bear, you just have to outrun the slowest person, because eventually one of those survivors gets fucking yeeted as they're traveling through the snow.
Yeah, I did clock that. So true.
And Eben's now successfully turned on the generator and goes to Grandma's house. But as the vampires are clocking that he's in Grandma's house, Mrs. Vamp, a.k.a. Iris, is like looking at Marlo like, babe, can I go do this? Can I go in this one? And he's like, yeah, babe, do it.
Yeah, he's almost like, yeah, you can go ahead and go first. Like, I think he knows some shit is like gonna happen.
I think he's like proud and excited for her. Like, yeah, you got this, girl.
Oh.
He's like, girl, you do this.
He's like, you my boo thing.
Yeah, you my little boo thing, and you go fucking fuck up this person.
Oh, shit. Well, then what happens next is really sad.
Well, that's what I clocked is like, that's daggers in my heart, because as she enters the house, Eben shines the UV light onto her, and then she stumbles out of the house with the vampires, and she's burning.
Yeah, she's like becoming ash.
Yeah. And I loved Arlo. Why did I say Arlo? Is that a name?
That is a name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Marlo and Iris, I loved their enthusiasm and excitement for each other. And not everybody gets to find that kind of love. So I'm sad for their loss within each other, and just R.I.P. Iris. And
Don't forget, you guys, this is a modern love story in the snowy town of Barrow, Alaska.
but also, Eben's way too fucking excited that he only killed one vampire. I'm like, bro, this is not a solution.
I 100% agree. Like, unless you thought that you could take down multiples with this light,
What is this plan now?
like that, they know now. They know what's up. They know that you have this fucking light. And then didn't they like immediately shut off the power too?
Yeah.
So then now light gone.
Light gone. Light bright. Light not be bright.
Light not bright. Totally. As the vamp girl is dying.
Iris.
Sorry.
Don't forget her name.
Sorry, fuck. Iris. Marlo is biting her? Question mark?
He does bite her, but I think it was more a love bite.
Maybe it's like, hey, well, you're going to die anyway. I'm at least going to take like your last sustenance of life.
But I don't think that I've not seen vampires taking blood from other vampires
other.
to survive.
See, those are my questions. But
All lore is different. So, you know, let them do them.
yeah, we never know.
He just wants to taste one little last taste of his little sweetie pie.
That's true. And meanwhile, Beau from the survivors group has volunteered to be the next distraction. And he barrels through the vamp crew with his massive plow, and he runs over a ton of them and also shoots them every chance that he gets. So he comes in again being like the hero.
Well, what I admire about Beau is he finally was like, okay, Eben's been doing all these diversions and sacrificey shit. It'd be my turn. If I go, it's okay. I think that was his mentality, but who knows?
Yeah.
And he drives his plow into this building.
It's kind of like to help lure the vamps in. Because he has like some flares and like some explosives.
No, it's like fucking dynamite, bro.
Yeah, he's like ready to go.
And he crashes into that building, and he's like, the vampires are outside, and he's like, come for me. Come at me. I have this box of cartoon-ass dynamite.
Yep.
And he lets that shit explode. And at first I was like, oh shit, good for Beau for being like getting out on his own terms. He sacrificed himself, blah, blah, blah. And then we see everybody survived, Beau and the vampires. And this scene brought me daggers because now they're back in the snow, nothing's changed, and Marlo crushes Beau with his shoe. He stomps on his head and crushes it.
So I have an issue with this scene. They could have just left it at Beau sacrificing himself and like giving him that like heroic moment. Like even the producer and I were talking about this. But like the extra Beau coming out and then ending up getting killed by Marlo anyways is just sad and unnecessary.
But maybe they're trying to get that reaction out of us.
Maybe, but it just seemed like lazy writing, honestly. Like let him have that hero moment. Let him kill at least some of the vampires with the explosion. Like, I don't know. Because it's just like, it was sad.
But here's another thing is, I think another layer of that is they could have, he wasn't dead. He was dying, or he was wounded in the street. And they could have taken his blood, they could have sucked the blood out of him or eaten him or whatever and chopped his head off, and then it would have been a moot point. But instead of doing that, they just wasted his meat sack and stomped his brains in.
Either way, I just think we
didn't
like it.
I'm mad because I liked Beau.
We love Beau.
Yeah.
Beau for president.
Beau for president.
So Eben makes his way to the station with everyone else after what had just happened to Bo, and he tells Stella about Bo's sacrifice. And him and Stella embrace for the first time all movie. So again, romance is alive, you guys.
Not for long. After that sad tragedy and how many other days later, it's now day 27. So we've got 3 days.
We're so close.
We're so fucking close, you guys.
Oh my goodness.
We're at the station for God knows why. And the gang looks outside a lot. I guess you would. But they're looking outside and they see a light signal, like with a flashlight, almost like
Morse code.
Morse code. I was just tapping on the table.
I was like, oh yeah, I got your message.
But it's like Morse code signal with a flashlight across the street. And they're all like, oh, it's Billy Whiteteeth. And
well, Billy, but yeah.
Billy Whiteteeth. Eben and Stella go to get him. And would you go do that? I guess you are friends, but 3 days, dude. 3 days.
I mean, okay, let me break this down. I think if you ask me quickly, yes, I would. But you're right. Like, we're at 27 days. Can we just like not wait a couple days more? But I think my curiosity would be like, not curiosity in a good way or bad way, but more like, oh shit, he might need help if he's like signaling so hard right now.
Okay,
you know
but
what I mean?
If he needs help, you can't help him probably.
That's
so
true.
Wait those 3 days. We'll circle back.
Maybe you Morse code will follow up.
Yeah. We'll circle back. We'll revisit this.
Yeah, in the new year.
They don't.
They go and get him.
They go to his place, and Billy be disheveled. He's no longer Billy Whiteteeth. He's Billy, like, what he looks like to me in the scene is the girl with the green ribbon. Do you remember that book?
Oh, yeah, I remember that book.
That story where she has a green ribbon around her neck?
Yes, and her head falls off?
Yes, and that's what he looks like verbatim in
Really?
this scene. Oh, yeah. Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to compare.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to go back.
I did.
You did?
I did.
Oh my god.
And I'm right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, I love the confidence. Okay.
And sadly, Stella and Eben discover that he's done some fucked up shit.
Yeah, he has shot his wife and his daughters before anything even happened, it seems, because he was so scared of something happening that he preemptively was like, I'm just going to kill everybody. And he said that he meant to kill himself as well, but the gun got jammed, which sounds fucking
fishy
and horrible to know that you just did that to your entire family. And then here you are on day 27, still alive. No vampires have attacked you yet, and you killed your whole family. You suck.
Obviously, Stella and Eben being friends of his, they're like, what the actual fuck? But they decide to drag his sorry ass back to meet up with the rest of the survivors. And when they arrive to their location, everybody else is gone. All the rest of the gang. So that's alarming, obviously.
Yeah.
But Eben and Stella assume they've all now gone to the Utilidor where there's generators and shit that they probably need. And so they're like, okay, fuck, we need to go to the Utilidor now. And so they're traveling in the streets and they hear vamp sounds and decide to hide under a truck. Also, how efficient is that? Like, they're going to fucking find you.
I know. I'm like, dude, that is so scary.
And they see this bloody ass little girl walking the streets. She doesn't look like a vampire, but she be walking.
She looks terrified.
Yeah.
Poor girl.
So how does she survive this long? Good for her.
Yeah.
Longer than I would have. And what I like to refer
She's
to,
a final girl. Sorry.
She is a final girl for sure. And she'd be walking her way downtown. And what I like to refer to as coked up vampire Adrian Brody is what we see now.
Oh my god, that does kind of look like it.
I know. I can't unsee it. So he's behind her walking in the streets. And so obviously Stella and Eben are like, shit, we got to fucking fix this.
And so Stella grabs the child, and then Eben and Billy kind of confront this one vampire. Like, they don't like necessarily like confront to fight it, but they sort of like run off. I think trying to distract the vampire from Stella and the girl.
So Stella goes to grab the little girl in her juicy couture sweatsuit that's covered in blood. And Eben says, okay, take the girl to the Utilidor. I'll meet you there. And fucking dumbass fucking Billy actually just runs off. like with no clear direction of what the plan is.
Yeah.
Somehow,
Good luck, buddy.
somehow Evan and Billy actually end up back at the Utilidor, but Stella and bloody ass girl actually named Gail. Weird name for a tiny girl.
For a baby girl.
Yes.
But sorry, she's not a baby, but like, a
know,
young girl.
A young person. We love the name Gail, by the way.
Great name.
But they are not there. Stella and Gail are not there.
And now we're back with Marlo and the vampire crew.
I low-key love this scene. Some kind of weird, like, it looks like something's lit on fire that's supposed to be like an effigy.
Oh.
Is that a word? Like Burning Man, where you burn something? But there's this great shot where Marlo is talking to the rest of the vampire gang with a dead body, and he takes the blood of the dead body, he's slicking back his hair with his coke nails.
So spooky.
It's so great.
Well, and he has this like amazing monologue where he's just like, no one can know about us. There cannot be like any survivors. And basically like, we're going to destroy this town and make it look like, it could not have been anything to do with us, or basically in like wilderness terms, like leave no trace.
Exactly. Good for Marlo for this inspirational speech. We love a good, it's like a hang in there poster, but it's him giving the speech, which we love. But another David note, in the comics, there's actually somebody higher than Marlo that comes in, like I said, to save this town. And he's like, what the fuck? You guys are fucking shit up. I'm going to come clean up your goddamn mess.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
They come in at this point in the like story.
Yes, after they've been starting to kill, he's like, you guys are being so messy. And
like you have not done things efficiently,
Yeah.
basically. Oh, interesting.
So they're not leaving no trace. So this higher up vampire is trying to come and help leave no trace because they don't want people to know that vampires exist.
That is a good note.
Yeah.
Good David note. And then back at the Utilidor, which Billy has made his way back to, the group hears Billy getting attacked in another part of the Utilidor. So we have like most of the group is in one part and then Billy is in a different part. And Eben and some of the other survivors try to come to his part of the Utilidor to try and save him, but things are already not well. They do end up, however, throwing the vampire that attacked Billy into the crusher or the monster, like we talked about earlier, that kind of like is that trash compactor thing. And unfortunately, in the shuffle of things, Billy's arm gets chopped off in the process, and he starts to turn into a vampire at the same time. Very scary.
So that's a bummer, but we knew that quote unquote monster would be part of a plot point and at the end of the film. And as we see him starting to flail and turn into a vampire, fucking Eben cuts his best friend's head off. But you got to do what you got to do.
This is an epic scene, though. Like the way that Josh Hartnett freaking yeets that axe into the side of Billy's neck and the way that we see it so fully as the audience, like it's a very good like practical effect. I thought that they did an awesome job making it look really good.
And for further reference, if I start to turn into a vampire, you have one of two options. If I'm like kind of cognizant and I know who I am and I know who you are, just like let me have fun. But if I'm like becoming ravenous and mean, you can chop my head off.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
If I become a vampire, if you could kindly grab Cowboy so that I could also turn him into an immortal vampire dog. And then if you could drive us somewhere very, very remote, maybe, and just like drop us off.
Okay.
Yeah.
Joshua Tree, maybe? I'm feeling?
Perfect.
Cool.
Perfect.
You
Yeah,
can
yeah,
find
yeah.
a cave there.
Yeah,
Cool.
exactly. I would
Wonderful.
just like to live my days with him.
Cool.
Yeah.
Got it.
And if you want to come back and kill me later, like that's fine.
No, I'll just come visit
But,
you.
like, yeah. Okay. Perfect. Just come hike.
Yeah.
It's really nice during the springtime.
I'll wear garlic. I'll do whatever I have to do.
Perfect.
So that just happened. And threesome girl, sorry, her name's Denise.
Yeah, she is in part of the survivor pack,
She
by the
is,
way.
yeah, my bad. Good for her also.
Well, thruple girl, threesome girl.
Whatever, both.
Both. You're right.
She's like coming back to the crew and says, look what I found. I found vodka. Let's celebrate. We just killed some vamps and there's only one day left till sunrise now. And I'm like, bitch, that's some first girl mentality.
That would be me.
No, that'd be me. first girl.
Sorry, you're right. You're right.
And I'm here for her first girl energy. Let's drink that vodka. Let's get warm and go out with a bang.
I was just thinking because I love to celebrate.
So do I. We've been a little bit unknown about Stella and Gail. Stella and Gail's whereabouts. And Stella finally radios Eben. And they are currently hiding under a car in the streets. And there are too many vampires around her to, like, try to fucking escape. And I get that. But, like, again, back to, wouldn't they see you under a fucking car? And Eben is like, boo, the sun comes up tomorrow. So maybe wait there until it's safer. And I'm like, bro, have you heard of hypothermia?
Have you heard of frostbite?
Oh, I have.
Have you?
I heard of it. But they basically make no resolve because she knows she has to be quiet and not attract attention from sound. And his last thing he says to Stella is, "We will watch the sunrise together tomorrow, baby." And I'm like, daggers.
Again, a romance.
I know, but are we back to calling each other baby?
Yeah, we are. They've realized that they love each other.
Also,
and all the other shit doesn't matter.
It just takes one fucked up vampire situation to fix all your problems.
Yes.
Sign me up. I'm kidding.
It's vampire therapy. From inside the utilidor, the group sees that the vampires are now putting oil everywhere and they are lighting a fire to try and burn the whole town down. And even one of the gals in the group, I think it's Denise from the throuple, she's like, nobody is going to know what happened and people will just think that it was a horrible accident. And they all kind of come to this realization like, holy shit, they're going to just go probably from like town to town to do this. And people are always just going to think it's like some kind of crazy accident and not put any blame or even know that it was a group of fucking vampires that did this.
Meanwhile, these vampires be like, fuck yeah, it's a vacation all the time.
Well, and then next, we have a pretty big pivotal scene, which I like to just call it Eben is Vamp.
Eben is Vamp.
Okay. Eben is Vamp. Eben thinks he has another quote unquote good idea, and he thinks that he should inject himself with some vampire blood from Billy, and it'll make him fight better, question mark?
This happens so fast, and I'm like, how did you come to this random ass fucking logic?
He's like, we can't fight them the way we are. And it's like, bro, there's a lot of other shit that you can probably do.
One of them being just settle down and maybe protect yourselves and others that are in the utilidor. Maybe Stella will make it.
Take a page from The Thing. Like, does anybody have a flamethrower around anywhere? Like,
but we saw that dynamite didn't work.
That's true. I don't know. I think I would try every other thing first because, like, you're so close. You know what I mean?
We also don't know how many vampires there are.
That's true. That is true. Yeah.
I don't understand how there are so many different vampire lores, but apparently if you inject a newly killed vampire-ish person's blood into your body, you can certainly turn into one of them. And it works amazingly fast, like within seconds. He's
like a half vamp. He's still like there kind of mentally, but he's like, oh, I'm feeling the vamp vibes.
Yes.
Eben is vamp.
And the rest of the survivors are like, should we fucking kill him now before he kills us? The answer is always fucking yes. Mm-hmm. But they don't. And maybe it's because he's hot and you just can't really kill that face.
You can't.
And also okay, so hear me out. If you became a vampire, wouldn't you just kind of want to like play around?
Yes. But
just see
your thirst for blood probably is just like overpowering.
Edward figured it out.
But he had a long time to do it.
100 and something years, yeah.
Well, so Eben goes outside and he confronts the vampires. And meanwhile, Jake is radioing Stella and is like, girl, make a fucking run for it with Gail. And Eben starts fighting with the vampires and tells Stella, he's like, go now, go now. And you just kind of see the heartbreak on her face because I think she's kind of understanding like what's happening. Like she's like, oh, fuck, he might be a vampire now. As Marlo and Eben get in this like epic fight together.
Would you call it epic?
Actually, no, I take that back. This part just really gets me. Hold on. Eben punches through Marlowe's skull one swift motion.
And it happens so quickly. Like it was a fight and then it wasn't within seconds. And then And now Marlowe's gone. And the rest of the vampires are like, oh, chill. You chill. You chill, we chill.
Yeah, it is. It's very weird. And then Stella goes up to Eben and she's like so unbelievably heartbroken at what he did.
I also I just wish this were more dramatic. It's so anticlimactic. This end scene with the quote unquote leader in this film of the vampires. Yeah. And it could have been much more, but we took too much time creating diversions and killing people.
Yeah, and having really bad ideas.
Yes. And the sun kind of starts to come out and the vamps scurry and they're like, should we go after him? And they're like, no, let's go watch the fucking sunset together, booze.
Yeah, so they...
Wait, also, where's Gail?
Hopefully she has also scurried off to where everybody is at the utilidor. Maybe.
Damn, she's like the specific reason that this event happened at this instance. And, well, yeah, bitch, I hope you're enjoying your Haagen-Dazs or whatever you're eating right now.
Yeah. As the 30 days of night come to an end, the sun rises over Barrow, burning Eben in its light. So he and Stella are at their little sunset spot, or sunrise spot, I should say. And Stella cradles Eben as he kind of succumbs to the sunlight and turns into ash in her arms. It's very kind of sad, heartbreaking a little bit, but they have made it through the 30 days of night. And fiend.
I mean, I have some questions, but why wouldn't you just like go with the vampire gang that you've now turned into and come back for vacay when the 30 days of night happen again and visit Stella?
It's a great question.
Thank you.
I mean, they could really have an Edward Bella romance.
Oh dear God! But it was kind of what I liked about this too is it started with a sunset and ended with a sunrise, and it was in the same place in the same.
It's a nice sandwich.
It was a good sandwich. The bread was good. Some of the ingredients in the sandwich were like, do we need this?
Yeah. I wasn't like a huge fan of this ending. I mean, I don't think a lot of people were. I just think there were so many things about this film that could have been really great. And then the way that we ended was so lackluster. I just felt like, okay, like, so what happens to the rest of the vampires that scurried off? Is this...
Yeah.
Also, I want to know more about that vampire ship. Because like that is where I assume that they went, but it would have been kind of like nice to know. And yeah, like Eben, even though I love Josh Hartnett and he is so hot and he's a great actor, he did great in his character in this film. This character, though, was trash. Eben was not a good leader.
Yeah.
He really wasn't a good, like, save the day guy. I mean, honestly, like, Bo did more for fucking everybody than Eben even did.
He was like full of that's what I say. I thought Bo maybe would have made a better sheriff.
Yeah.
Because Eben was kind of full of just false, not promises, but sentiments.
False hope.
Yeah.
It's like he had like toxic positivity. So what were your like final thoughts?
Beyond what we just talked about, I neither loved nor hated this film. It was just kind of there.
I felt the same.
And that's fine. I just thought there were no real plot points besides diversions and vampires eating people. And I think, like you were just talking about, I was way more impressed with the acting rather than anything else.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like it left me with so many questions of what happened outside the film. I want to know more about A, how they arrived there, and then B, I guess, like, where do the ones that scurried away, where do they go from here? Like, I wanted more, like, a little bit more background. I felt like in a normal movie where something like this is happening, people are like, well, why are they here? Like, let's try to figure out the why, where there was none of that.
So let me hit you with something. My husband, Kevin, loves this film.
Okay.
And I asked him, we watched it together, and I said, why? And he says he loves this representation of vampires because there's no fluff. There's no, like, sparkle vampires. There's no, like, sex. It's just pure vampire survival.
Okay.
And so I
like that.
Yeah. And so he kind of reframed how I thought about it. I still didn't like or love it. He's like, it's a 5-star Michelin restaurant for vampires. You just go for 30 days and it's a full ass
that's a good point.
Gourmet meal for 30 days. And that's their mission. It's not to fuck Bella or Sparkle.
Or do anything weird.
or to create more vampires.
It's literally just to feed.
It's to feed and survive and leave no trace behind. And so that kind of reframed how I thought about it.
I really appreciate that, actually.
I still want
to know more of their background.
And what
where'd they come from?
What I'm thinking is maybe they were setting it up for a sequel, and it's just like it didn't happen.
Didn't happen, yeah.
What were your final thoughts?
I mean, pretty much like what I kind of already said. I mean, I do like enjoy this film. I think that I enjoy the thought of it. Like, I hadn't seen it for years before we decided to do it, and I was really excited when we were like talking about it, and then actually watching it, it sort of let me down. Like, I think I remember it more fondly when I first saw it back in like 2007.
The Josh Hartnett effect.
Yeah. Seriously.
But do you think it was scary at all?
No, but I used to. And I think I'm just getting desensitized now, maybe because we watch so many horror films potentially. But like, I used to think it was pretty scary. I used to be very scared of like the vampires and their teeth and the whole thing. But yeah, it just really is. I think I've seen just so many more movies that I would classify as scary.
I don't think this ever scared me at all, which is kind of terrifying to me. Favorite scene?
I think my favorite scene is honestly probably just anything with Bo, including him taking the plow and making that sacrifice, even though it didn't end well. What about you?
I think my favorite is anything with the stranger, because he obviously made an impact on me with his bear suit. And he was just, I think he was the most outstanding actor in this film. Although the actor that plays Marlowe is also super interesting to me in this movie, because he can make a lot. He expresses a lot without even talking.
Yeah,
His
he does
eyes,
a really
his
good
face.
job. I think, again, it goes back to what we just said. Like, the acting is superb.
Totally.
These people did do what they needed to do.
Yeah.
What they were signed up for their characters, 100%.
Get that paycheck, boo.
Yeah, but the movie itself just
Totally.
trash.
But
here we are.
But here we are, you know.
That is all we have for today, folks. That was our first film review of 2025. I can't believe it. So crazy. Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks. As a reminder, you can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks. And honestly, guys, if you really enjoy the pod, please tell a friend. We always love growing the Spooky Chicks and Horror Flicks family. So yeah, love y'all. And Allie, you want to take us out?
Sure fucking do. Maybe don't live in a town that is dark for a month, because vampires are real and so is seasonal depression. Happy fucking New Year, you guys, and stay spooky fuckers.